Namaste. Dopamine consecration, when the purpose becomes the reward. This is a three-part series. The first part, we went over what is dopamine. The second part, we went over dopamine devotion. And this part, we're going to go over dopamine consecration, where your purpose takes over. Let's take an example. I am single. I've been single on purpose for about 8 years. I've been in monastic solitude for 10 years. Of course, I do have my pets, and I have my God-given mission, vision, purpose, which is the dopamine consecration, or delayed dopamine delay, or dopamine devotion, where I'm like, nothing is gonna happen right now. One of my biggest mentors and somebody I look up to, Dan Martell, talks about how the runway is long. I believe his YouTube channel was about 10 years before it took off. The runway is long, but the takeoff is quick. I have been at this for many years, and I'm not going to be surprised if it even takes another few years for me to be speaking globally, for me to be donating millions of dollars to feeding the poor and purifying their water, because that's it, right? That's the mission now. So now when I have this dopamine surrender, dopamine consecration, my life becomes a lot easier. And Brian Tracy says this. He talks about how if you want to be a multimillionaire, you want to be a philanthropist, you want to be a speaker, just act like one. You should see my pictures from even just like a couple of years ago or even a year and a half ago. Inflamed, overweight, looking for external validation. Now I have done identity transfiguration to a point where I internally validate myself. I no longer eat sugar. Of course, I do use my pets as comfort. Maybe there is some dopamine with that, which I'm okay with. So I really enjoy being out in nature. If I want to get high, if I want to get that serotonin bond with my creator, I want to get that oxytocin bond with myself, with my pets. What is a habit? A habit is a short-term pleasure that leads to long-term consequences. Now, this is a short-term pleasure. I'm not sure about a long-term consequence. I'm not sure about a long-term consequence with snowboarding. I go slow anyway. So, those are some of the dopamine hits that I get, I guess, but I'm anticipating it. However, when I do these things, I'm looking at it from almost a perspective of where I'll be able to serve a higher mission. For example, when I'm hiking, I get these divine downloads. I'll write a little bit like this. Like even when I go hiking, I'll start writing a little bit about this. Oh, God's plan, sorry, neutral, and sovereign. I'll feel better if I say sorry to somebody. Neutral, I will hold my resentment. Sovereign, may do a reset on resentment. And my mission is to be a neurospiritual sovereign, a neurospiritual athlete, and an urban monk where I depend on myself. Of course, I have my pets too. And doing it for the mission intentionally. So what's happening here, and you can see all of these different writings. And this is just a little bit. And I have a dry erase board here. I have a vision room upstairs with 3 dry erase boards. And let's see what happened here with the dopamine delay. Okay, am I wrong? Is he going to be mad? I should make it easy on her. Time health. I don't see the purpose in sleeping in, but I'm gonna sleep in anyway. Executional health. The results I'll put in and the blessings are bestowed. So what this is doing here is it's doing the dopamine consecration, where I'm surrendering it to God. The mission is to feed the poor, purify their water. The vision is to make money and donate it. The purpose is so that my mom's life, she lived with schizophrenia, was institutionalized for 27 years. My brother was found dead for 17 days. And then I had all kinds of stuff happen to me when I was younger: physical, mental abuse, juvenile detention, cocaine-induced manic episode. There is alchemization in all of this. It's all because of a higher purpose. Why was it that I was saved? Dopamine consecration. Why is it that I get to live this life and my brother was found dead for 17 days? Why is it that my mom was schizophrenic and was in psychiatric institutions, where I'm here living in a nice apartment with my pets, have the choice to do this or not do this? Why is it? So there's that internal belief, right? The internal reward. Well, this is something greater than myself. Medical evidence here. Dopamine shifts when the reward is internal and not external. Neuroscience shows that the ventral striatum activates more when actions align with personal meaning rather than what they produce reward. For example, like I didn't want to take her in the morning out. I would just rather say, maybe there was somebody that I know who would have puppy pads out on their patio. Let me just do that. I mean, even I thought about that probably today where I'm like, I'll take her out later, but you just gotta do it. What this does is I'm like, all right, fine. Since I'm up, let me just take a shower. Let me do my hair. All right, fine. Let's just do a YouTube video. Okay, fine. Let's go on a walk. All right, let's walk into the gym for 1 second. What you're doing here is you're aligning every single action with your purpose, which will recreate a new dopamine pathway for you. fMRI studies show that these types of things, these voluntary acts of service, goal-congruent behavior, self-determined motivation, where purpose activates the same dopamine pathways as external rewards, but is more sustainable. You think I want to go snowboarding all the time? You think I want to go on a hike? I'd rather sleep in. No, but let me go, internal reward. I get the external reward too of being out there and having that neurochemical novelty of being in nature. And it'll support the mission. The brain releases more dopamine when you act from intrinsic motivation. This self-determination theory and neuroimaging evidence show that when a behavior is aligned with autonomy, mastery, and purpose, look, I have the choice to not fulfill this, I can fulfill this, I'm doing it on my own accord, then what happens is the mesocortical dopamine pathway lights up stronger when the reward is external. So for example, I get paid this amount for a speaking engagement, I donate it, that's not the reward. I gotta still keep on going because it's the process of putting water filtrations in to Haiti, as an example. Meaning reduces dopamine crashes. Purpose-driven behavior creates lower reward prediction error, lower post-reward dopamine drop, more stable dopamine baselines, which is really important to stabilize your dopamine. And the more you do this, the better you get at it. And I hope that when you're done with this video, you can download a Mind Hygiene guide. It's in the description where you can follow along to see how you can delay the dopamine. However, you don't need Mind Hygiene or my process to do this. I can be the prototype of the person that went from self-hate to self-love. How did he do it? How did he reorganize his dopamine pathways? What did he do to reorganize the anterior cingulate cortex where only something that's delayed is what this guy depends on? And writing is going to be the biggest conduit to that. The more you write, the better your life will get. You don't need Mind Hygiene, although you can follow along. And if you found value in this video, please subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'll be dropping videos every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And like, comment, let me know what you think about this and how I can improve the video. And I'll see you in the next one. And this concludes the 3-part series of what is dopamine, dopamine devotion, and dopamine consecration. Namaste.